why don't we get started? And as people come in, love to hear. Oh, Vince from Delaware. Good, Vince. Good to see you. I know we spoke a couple, like probably last week, I think it was. Good to see you all. Good to have you here. So I try to make these webinars informative to all of you. So I do give you the opportunity to ask questions, and you'll see there's a Q&A box where you can put your questions. So please do that, and I will try to answer them after I've got some done. I just try to give you a sense of the program, the context of the program, just to kind of start off. But then we can go into questions pretty soon after that. Just to introduce myself, my name is Maria Brackett. I'm the director of the certificate here at the university. I'm a spiritual director myself too. I've been doing this ministry for about, I think it's about 16, 17 years now. And something I really enjoy. It's a real privilege and a joy. It's always a gift for me to talk to, and have these one-on-one sessions with my directees. So let's get started here. Just talk a little bit. I want to talk first about what spiritual direction is. Because I think that's important when you're looking for a spiritual direction program. I think it's important to kind of understand how we understand spiritual direction. There's a lot of different understandings out there, right? Even though it's Allison, good to see you, and Janine, good to see you too. Janine, you asked right off the bat, is this a full-time program or part-time? It's not even part-time. It's 3 courses a year. I have a little slide that I can show you kind of to explain that. Gary, good to have you from Illinois. So spiritual direction, what is spiritual direction? Well, I think there's a lot of different understandings of this according to the faith traditions, and also just within the last probably 20 years with coaching and all those different things coming up, there can just be a lot of different understandings. The way that we teach about spiritual direction in our certificate, well, first of all, Divine Mercy University is a graduate school, Catholic graduate school for psychologists and counselors, and it went off into and developed this certificate really to try to help people in ministry with this one-on-one sitting with people and accompany them. We know that spiritual directors are not psychologists. You'll see that right on the slide. We know that spiritual direction is not therapy, that it's real walking with the person as they walk with the Lord, right? Helping them in their pilgrimage, strengthening them, making things clearer for them through the conversation that you have, and maybe your own experience of your relationship with the Lord. A sort of type of mentoring, but most of all, just accompanying them, walking with them, deep listening, assisting them on their path, being there for them, and service both to them and to the Lord. And deep listening, it's just very important for us in our program to the directee to help them deepen in their experience of the Lord and his narrative in their lives, so they can be strengthened and encouraged to continue this path of growing closer and closer to him. It also has some elements of formation, just as we're walking with the Lord, he teaches us, and a spiritual director just tries to help the directee to see what's going on. It's not that a spiritual director has special glasses, but the job of a spiritual director is really to be a very good listener and have their heart kind of turned towards the directee, the ears of their heart turned towards the directee, but also the ears of the heart turned towards God. And just help the directee to hear better through these conversations. In the program, we, as I said, a big emphasis is on deep listening. So you are taught skills of listening, and you definitely go through exercises just to help you to be a better listener. Sorry, I thought that, yeah, there we go. So that's what spiritual direction is. Now let me just skip here until So a little bit about the program, just quickly, so that you can have an understanding. It's 6 online courses. We call them asynchronous, which means not in real time. So you do enter the certificate in each course with a cohort, a group of people, a class. It's usually about 16 to 18 people. Although in some of the courses where we do more work, small group work, the cohorts might be a smaller size. And asynchronous means not real time. So you go through the material that's online, the readings, the videos, all the different ways that we have to teach you online. You go it by week. Every course is 8 weeks long, and you do the homework in the times that you have. Of course, there are opportunities to get online with the instructor and your classmates, but none of those opportunities are obligatory. There's always another way to do those assignments. And they always record those meetings. So it just helps you to kind of have flexibility. Although, as you can imagine, most of the students love to get online. But sometimes it's just not possible. We have our lives and other things that we need to do. So 6 online courses and 2 residencies. The residencies are an integral part of the 3rd course and the 5th course. They happen here in Virginia. They're from a Wednesday evening to a Sunday lunch. We're very close to the airport, to Dallas International Airport. Here, it's really not even more than 10 minutes away, so it's very easy to get in and out, also major highways. And then another part of the program are 60 practicum hours. This is after you've done a considerable amount of the program, almost 2/3 of it. You start in the 5th and the 6th course, you start seeing people in spiritual direction as a spiritual director in training. And you need to log 48 hours of seeing people in spiritual direction. Then the rest of those practicum hours are 12 hours of supervision that we give you in our program with our instructors. And that makes up the 60 hours that you're required to have in order to complete the program. All the courses are pass-fail. There aren't any exams, but there are evaluations as you go along. And you can not pass 2 of the assignments and still pass the course. But if you don't pass 3 or more, you have to take the course again. You can take a course up to 2 times. We don't usually let people repeat residencies because they're so time consuming and they just they're a significant cost for you and everything like that. So we try to do the best and really give you feedback in those moments. These are the 6 courses. As I said, each course is 8 weeks long. So these are the 6 courses. In our website, we've got the course descriptions. If you wanted that, it's about a paragraph about each course, so it helps you. But as you can see, they pretty much go between spiritual theology, which is really the spine of the program, which is how does a person grow in grace and their relationship with God, and then human development and those how does a person develop, how do human relationships develop, and then those skills that you need for spiritual direction. So the 300 and the 500 really are around those skills. The 200 is the human development for spiritual direction, and then the 400, 500, and 600, and the 100 really has that theological content. But as you're going along, of course, you're integrating all this together. I don't know if you all know much about the university, but it was started 25 years ago by a group of Catholic psychologists and Christian psychologists and counselors that were looking to integrate faith and the human sciences. So the university is continually being true to faith and true to science, and weaving the wisdom of the Catholic Christian tradition with the human sciences, trying to be true to both and trying to those theories of psychology that just don't match with the Christian understanding of the person, really just to train their counselors and psychologists to understand the difference and what is going to help a person really to grow and the truth of who they are. So the spiritual direction course, of course, we're not training you to be counselors or psychologists, so it's not a heavily psychological, but it does teach you about the human person and human relationships. And and like that 200 course is always taught by a counselor or a psychologist. Just because we do, St. Thomas Aquinas says, grace builds on nature. And so we've got to understand that human nature that works with grace, right? That's kind of like the matter, that works with grace. So that the collaboration that we have with the Lord and his grace, right? So these are just some pictures of the residencies. It just talks about them, how they're 2 4-day residencies here in Sterling, Virginia. And they're just an opportunity to put in practice the skills that you're learning and under the supervision of spiritual directors and therapists. So it's a lot of small group work, a lot of coaching, giving you feedback on how the skills are developing. Really great opportunity for just some real in-person learning. And that we always have a retreat on Saturday morning just to give you some quiet time to reflect and be with the Lord and just get a better sense of where he is at work in your own life too. So, we talked about them being 8 courses and 8 weeks, right? Each course is 8 weeks long. You take one course at a time, typically requires 6 to 10 hours of commitment when you're in your courses studying them. And there's roughly a 6 to 10 week break between each term, and you complete the certificate in 2 years. So let me just show you a little bit more of how that actually works, the terms, right? This is a question that we get, so we created this, so when are we in class, when are we not, right? The next term that starts, you'll see, we have a term that starts on May. It actually starts this year and on May 21st. So the summer term and the fall term is really what I'm working with people right now to apply for. The January term, we just finished it actually this week on Tuesday. So that's the one that's early January to early March. So there are 3 starts, we say, for the program. So you can start in January, you can start in late May, you can start in August. We're always offering all the courses, so you just move right along. But you see, these are when the courses are held, and then these are the breaks between terms. So from early March, like the students are on break as of yesterday, to late May. They'll start classes again on May 21st. Then they've got another break from mid-July to the end of August. Usually classes start like the 3rd week in August. And then the downtime is the middle of October to early January. So this just helps you to kind of do life. And we just want a kind of slow learning, not to be too slow, of course, but just to allow you to kind of grow into this ministry and discern and pray. And the students use it, from the 3rd class on, you kind of have homework from the courses. So that's really also what you do sometimes on your breaks, going, on a retreat. We ask you to do at least a 5-day spiritual exercise experience. You could have done it at least 2 years before the program starts, or you do it during the program. So sometimes students do that. And then you start seeing people in spiritual direction. So that takes also time in your break. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else. I think let's go to questions. I'm going to stop sharing because I can't see your questions when I'm sharing. And then we'll come back to the presentation if we need it for one thing or another. Okay, so good to see you all here. Gosh, now I'm seeing that there's a good amount of you. So please, any questions that you might have, put them in the Q&A box so that I can pull them up. That would be a great help. or just put them in the chat box. So Gabriella, how long are the classes? And it is one per week. So Gabriella, remember what I said about synchronous? Synchronous means that asynchronous means that you're doing the classwork on yourself. Sometimes the teachers do hold weekly meetings, right? So if they do, it would just be one per week. It's not obligatory, but there is that there is that meeting that can be held that you could attend, or you could just listen to the recording. Janine, is it true a student needs 1 year spiritual direction prior to starting? No, it's not true. That used to be how the program was, but from our experience of running the program for 3 years, we realized that sometimes people have been in spiritual direction and need to get back into it, or they've had a lot of other different types of accompaniment, but not necessarily spiritual direction. So what we've done is we've changed the requirement. You can get in the program without having a spiritual director, but you do have to have one by the end of the first course. I hope that's answered that. Okay, let me go to the Q&A. Oh, yes. What is the tuition for the program? Okay, cost, payment plans. Okay, let's go to that slide then, since you're asking me about that. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so here we are. That's what we there. So let's go to the costs. So this is the cost of the program. It's $800 per course. First of all, let me just say about the cost, it's a pay-as-you-go program. So as you register for each course and residency, you pay for them. So you don't have to do the tuition all up front or anything like that. And so you're doing 3 courses a year and 1 residency a year, right? So that's what you would need to be paying. The total cost is $7,500 when you put this all together. But the breakdown is $800 per course and $1,350 per residency. This price always gets reviewed each year according to cost of living, right? And things that are happening. So we are reviewing it and the cost will go up in August. We try not to make it a significantly huge amount, and we really, we're a nonprofit, so we just try to bring in as much money as we need to run the program. So that's how that works. Gonna stop sharing so I can continue answering your questions. Vincent, I go on a Franciscan retreat every year for a week. It's Life in the Spirit. Do I need another retreat? Vincent, we do ask you to do the Ignatian spiritual exercises just because that's such a tradition within the Catholic Church and even in Christian traditions, right? And so it is really important for us, we think, that you do have that experience because it helps you to understand a lot of dynamics of the spiritual life. So it is Ignatian spiritual exercises. Maria Munoz, you're saying that you're a new twin mom. Congratulations, Maria. Wow. That's a lot. And we're going to pray for you. But please keep in touch with me. I know that it can be a lot right now, but at some point in time, I would love you. You sound like a beautiful person. I'd love you to look into the program. Is there, someone asked me if there's any prerequisite to join. Not really. To be accepted to the program, you do have to do an application, and we ask you to get a letter of recommendation from your parish priest or your faith, the leader of your community. If you come from like your pastor, right? So there is that. And there's a couple essay questions that are part of the application. That's what's needed. Helena, why is this not a graduate degree program? Well, Helena, we wanted to create a program that could be open to a lot of different people that have various backgrounds and maybe have been involved in ministry or catechetics or different, have learned in a lot of different ways. So we didn't want to prohibit people like that from joining, being able to study the program. So that's why we didn't, you don't need any type of degree to take this program. So this is a question about Helena. I hope that answered that. If I didn't, please let me know. A list of books we read during the course. So there's so many different things that we read during the course. Everything is online. There are a couple books that we read in their entirety. Like at the discernment course, you read He Leadeth Me, that book by Father Chiswick. And you also read Fulfillment of All Desire by Ralph Martin. You read a good amount of Jordan Almond's spiritual theology. You read Father Boniface and Hicks and Father Ackland's book on spiritual direction, Sharing the Father's Love. And so those are the books that we say to you, please buy. But everything else is on Canvas, the learning management system. There are chapters of books and things like that. Basically, it's a lot of just like great writers from the tradition of spiritual direction within the Catholic world and things like that. But we've kind of gone through sources and collected them and put them up there for you. Hope that helps. Hermes, is the residency in person? Yes, it is. It's here in Virginia. It's in-person training that we do here. It just gives us an opportunity to have you all here to do all this together and just to get a sense of who you are and how this is fitting with you. And it just gives a good sense to just get to know you and for you to get to know us. Does the program offer access to possible spiritual directors? Well, you can already have access to possible spiritual directors through us on the DMU website, which I can pull up here so that you all can see it. I'd love to do that because then I can actually show you where that information in the program is. I'll also show you where there's a whole list of graduates of the spiritual direction program. So just one other question before I do that. Are scholarships available? There are really no scholarships. We do have what's called the Spiritual Direction Grant Fund, which is a fund that we continually have open for people who want to donate money to help people study the certificate. So as we get money in, I give it out. At this point in time, I don't have any money in that fund. I always pray that more will come. But that's what we do. As it comes in, we give it out. So that's what we have. Do I need to drive to the residency? You can drive to the residency, you can take a bus, you can fly in a plane, however you'd like to get to Sterling, Virginia. Okay, let me pull up the website because I do want to show that to you all. I think it just will help you to get a look at it and also I want to show you some things on it. And that will help you to be able to find things in the future if you want to get to know more about the program. So this is the website. If you see, here's the website address, divinemercy.edu. And so for the question on where can you find spiritual directors, you go to this tab that says, I hope you're all seeing my screen. I'm assuming that you are and you're seeing what I'm doing. If you can just give me in the chat, if you could just tell me, yes, you see my screen, that would be great. Wouldn't want to be showing you all this for naught. Thank you so much. Great. Okay, so here's the screen. So alumni here, alumni directory. So here you go. These are all the programs that the university runs, right? So if you're looking for counselors or psychologists, you also could look here. These are all, but here it says spiritual direction certificate, right? So you click on that and you'll see all the people. As I said, there's about 90 people here. And as you can see here, it puts what program they graduated from and the state they're in. Then you can click on it and it will give you a way to get in touch with them. This person even put their address. It's really what they want to put up here. And they also put this, like she's also a counselor. So she puts what she specializes in. Okay, so that's that. Now I want to take you. So you see it's under the alumni directory, and then spiritual direction certificate. And that's where you can find graduates of the program that are out there giving spiritual direction, and you can contact them, look for your state, or some of them see people in Zoom. Some of them, you can always contact them and they'll let you know. So this is where you find more information about our program online. You go to that website, right? divinemercy.edu, look under academics, spiritual direction certificate, click on that. You'll get the pop-up that I was telling you about, asking people about if they want to donate to the spiritual direction certificate grant. And then this is the spiritual direction certificate page. And you see over here, well, we've got the stamp of approval from the Newman Guide, which is great. And so it's frequently asked questions, admissions requirements, right? Someone was asking me about that. And this is what it is. Completed application form, letter of recommendation from the applicant's pastor or minister, right? So that's to get into the program. And then after you've finished 100 and 200, we do a little bit more work to have you pass to the next part. So we ask you to get a letter of recommendation from your spiritual director, and then from a peer or a friend, and then we'll schedule a virtual interview, right, with you to get into the second part. We call it the first tier and the second tier. And remember I was telling you the courses? This is where you can find the course descriptions for each of the courses. Remember I showed you the names of them, and this is actually course descriptions of them. The tuitions and costs, which I explained to you, but it's a little bit more broken down here just for you to see it. We also have a blog, which, I love talking to people about this because these are articles or blogs that we've written about different aspects of spiritual direction. So they're just great to read and to, if you're looking for different things about spiritual direction, they're a little bit old. They're 2022. But, there's nothing that's not adequate to our time right now, actually. If it was, kind of expired in content, we would take it down. But some of the stuff is just perennial, good, great content. So it took us a bit to create those. And so there's a good amount there, actually. You can see there's at least 4 pages of it. Good. Well, I'm going to stop sharing again, see if you have any more questions for me. It's been good to see you all here. I recognize a good amount of your names. I'm always happy when people who've reached out to me get on to one of these webinars and ask their questions. Is there anything else that I can help you with this evening, as far as any other questions that you might have? So can I drive home at night during the in-person portion? We really don't recommend it, just because even if you live close, we had a girl that was like 20 minutes away and she tried driving in and then she just ended up asking to stay at the hotel. just because you are tired, um, they're 8 to 5 days, but it's a lot of listening. And we do want you to kind of separate yourself. It's kind of like it's kind of like a retreat experience for you and to have time to spend with your cohort. So if you needed to, of course, you can, but we don't recommend it just because of the schedule and you needing to be able to focus on it and no. So Janine, each so for the residency, if you wanted to travel there and not spend the nights at the hotel, you would need to come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 4 days. The Wednesday evening you could definitely come for, but if you couldn't come that day, just because this is DC and there's, if you live around here, you know how hard the traffic is. You could skip that Wednesday evening. But yeah, as I said, we really don't recommend it just because it is a lot. But if there are, and you always can tell me if there are special needs. We do a great job with accommodating people as far as food and even in the hotel if you need to sleep in a certain place. We do have the residency set up so that you have a single room, right? So that's that's how this goes. There is a good amount. Yeah, I'm seeing where you live. Janine. So there is a good amount of traffic coming into DC. I just did it the other day and it takes a lot of time. Okay. Any other questions that you might have for me? Gosh, I can't believe that I've answered all the questions. This is kind of interesting. Helena, could you please speak to the work of a spiritual director? Sure. I mean, I'm a spiritual director myself, so something I'm involved in. I see probably 15 to 20 people on a monthly basis. Um, I have a way that we set up those appointments. Some of them I see on Zoom, some of them I see in person. A lot of times it's at the university in my office there. Um, And so my work, as I was saying about spiritual direction, is really I meet with them on the frequency that they like or they request, and it's usually on a monthly basis. And we talk about where how their life has been, where they've kind of sensed God's presence, or they've sensed either strengthening, or they've sensed trials or difficulties, always with the focus of helping them find the Lord in their life. So it's a lot of deep listening, asking them questions to enter into their heart, into the heart of their hearts, their interior, where the Catechism of the Catholic Church says is where the Lord dwells, and is a place of commitment and covenant. So that is what you do, and you build a relationship over time. It's a confidential relationship. You don't share what your directee tells you, of course, and hopefully it's a trustful relationship, so that through that relationship they can be strengthened and grow in their relationship with the Lord. How far ahead does one need to apply and enroll? Um, some to So for the May course, really, I'm doing it now. April 1st is when we send out the orientation course for the people that are beginning in May. So we really do like to have you um, into class, and signed up by that April 1st date so we can get you through. We still continue, you can see on the website there, we continue to accept applications for the May course up till the beginning of May, but it's really better if you can, right? And then, so it's usually about at least a month before. Hope that answers that. Helena, your question. I never thought of paying for spiritual direction. Is it all a paid profession? It's not really a profession, it's a ministry. So it's not a career route. People, it's really different, Helena. And Vincent, you're also asking this about stipends. Um, some people get paid for, asked to be paid for it, some don't. It's typical that religious and priests probably don't ask to get paid because they're supported in other ways. But I've seen in a lot of them that they usually ask that you give some type of donation to their congregation or their order, right? Then for lay spiritual directors, the same thing. Some of them ask to be paid to receive something. It's usually, it's not anything like you would pay for a lot of these other things, but it's a layperson might ask to be paid um, just because they need that money to kind of support themselves and their lives, right? Like I have a paying scale that I say to people when they and I tell them what it is, and I'll tell them to pay me what they think that they can pay me within that scale. And then I say if it is a problem, just let me know, and we'll see about that, right? So it really depends. It really depends on the person and kind of the availability and the possibilities they have. You wouldn't want them to not be a spiritual director just can't because they don't have the means to do it. But so that's why some do charge and some don't. It really is a kind of a personal decision. Great. I hope that that has answered your question. Um, so let's see, Mary, you're asking a question here. What is the suggested pay scale? Mm, gosh, I don't. We actually explained this in the program, and I don't remember what I suggest. What is the suggested? I mean, for me myself, like, I've a good amount of experience in this spiritual direction, so I tell people anywhere between $35 and $50 a session. And then to let me know if that's too much for them, and we can always talk about it and get to it. You wouldn't want them not to have spiritual direction, right? But it's just a matter of the possibilities. Good. Anyone have any other questions before we sign off here? It's been good to see you all, even if though it's virtually. So the next course is starting, right? May 21st, and I'm working with people to come into it. Would love to see some of you apply. Because you have been on the webinar tonight, here is a code that you can use to apply for free. Usually the applications cost $25. So here's a code. I hope you can see it in the chat. If not, I'll read it out to you. It's SDC, Spiritual Direction Certificate, register. So REG and then free, FREE. This allows you to do the application for free. Otherwise, it would cost you $25. So please reach out to me. Love to have follow-up conversations with any of you. Just, you're all individuals and have different questions. So I'd love to be able to do that with you all and just make sure you get your questions answered. One thing is maybe the timing, right? When you actually start it. You can start the program. The first two classes are really trying to help you to get to know yourself and to get to know the ministry of spiritual direction so that you can kind of finish a discernment of whether it's for you or not. So you don't have to like have the decision made up that this is the ministry for you before you go into the program. You can definitely use those first two classes in that way if that's needed. At the end of every class, you get a little certificate saying that you took that class and completed it. So that allows you to have something after each class. Okay, anything else that you need from me? God bless you all and thank you. I've enjoyed having you here. Oh, so in general, how often does one meet with the spiritual director? Well, it's what I mentioned the other time. Usually it's about on a monthly basis, but it's really according to what the person wants, the one that's being directed. Thank you so much, all of you. God bless you. And praying for your discernment, all of you, as what is your next step in this. But we all know a lot of people need spiritual directors, so let's see what we can do about that. God bless you all. Take care.